Good evening, everybody. My name is Michael Schenkel, and I am the chair of ANC 2C and the ANC commissioner for 2C01, covering Penn Quarter and Chinatown. I'd like to welcome you to our Tuesday, November 15th community meeting. We have a pretty full agenda this evening, but I would first like to acknowledge Commissioner Nelson, who is with me this evening. So we have two of two commissioners present tonight, and therefore we have a quorum, and we'll continue on with our meeting to conduct business tonight. So yay. I will first like to just review the agenda with the group tonight. 1 second. I think this is the agenda. I think you're seeing that, I hope. Tonight, we want to approve the September and October 2022 minutes, have a treasurer's report, potentially approve an FY23 budget. We have our normal community announcements from various DC government offices. Under local events that impact the community, we have the Rock and Roll Half Marathon, which I can't believe that we're seeing a 2023 date. It seems almost unreal for me to see that. And we also have our 21st, that's with an ST, not a TH for whatever reason, annual Thanksgiving America's Trot for Hunger 5K. We have two ABRA licenses to review, Nando Peri Peri and District E. Are two new licenses that are up for renewal. Additionally, we have a public space application from the National Children's Museum. And we have one, I believe only one now, planning, zoning, environment, and historic preservation, and that is the 600 I Street Northwest location, which was added to the agenda. The All Care application for their certificate of need has been delayed, and they will come back to us in the new year as they reassess that process. Are there any other items or corrections that we'd like to add to the agenda this evening?
No.
Okay. Then I'd like to move that we accept the agenda as posted.
A second.
And all those in favor? So 2 of 2 commissioners voting in favor. I'm going to attempt to go back to my regular screen. There we go. I have multiple screens that are flashing up here on tonight, and I just don't know which one's going to shut me off here. So, Commissioner Nelson, have you had an opportunity to review the September and October 2022 minutes?
I do not believe I have received those.
Oh, okay. I sent them off to you, but maybe I did not. I thought sure I did. Sent them off to you. But
what day was that you sent them?
I sent them off this morning, I believe, to you. Maybe.
No,
okay, well, it's not reviewed, so that is fine. We will work for those for our next meeting in December.
Okay.
Treasurer's report.
Okay, so the October Treasurer's report, the opening balance was $66,263.71. We had one transaction, our quarterly allotment, in the amount of $1,821.05. That brought the closing balance to $68,084.76.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
I have no corrections or questions for you.
Okay.
Um, did by chance were you able to prepare a 23 budget?
No,
Okay.
we probably need to discuss that
Yeah.
because
So
we need
let's
some changes.
yes, we have to make some changes to that budget. Additionally, as you're aware, our minute taker has resigned earlier. Well, it's resigned in September. And I did send off the minutes for preparation,
Okay.
and that was done by Minutes Services LLC. The 2 minutes they spent 5 hours on that for a total of $625
Okay.
for that. I would like to submit that bill for payment for the ANC. We can do it two ways, which I think is probably the best way, is to pay with check direct to them.
Yes.
Um, so that would be great. And I sent that over to you as well. So if you are able to send that out, that would be awesome.
Can do. Okay, so I do have that from you, but that is the only email that I have from you.
Okay, maybe I just totally didn't hit the send button. That's so crazy. Hold on, that happens, you know? It
Yeah,
totally happens. So I will get those off to you. I'm so sorry about that.
oh, that's okay.
Do is it
Oh, I've got it. I see it now. This afternoon. Yes, I see it now.
sorry.
I was looking for this morning.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Was it this afternoon? Sorry about that. The day all merged together. Um,
Totally understand.
um, I would like to move that we use minute services for our minute preparations at least through the end of the year.
Okay. Second.
Okay, and all those in favor? Okay, two of two commissioners voting in favor of that. All right, terrific. I do not believe anyone from the mayor's office is with us this evening. Um, Mr. Terry contacted me later this afternoon,
Mhm.
and there was a fire that he has been at 24th and F Streets Northwest that he has been at for most of the day and was not able to join us this evening.
Okay.
So I would like to ask, I believe I see Ella is on. Is Ella, are you giving us our update tonight?
I am.
Ella, okay, terrific. Awesome. Thank you. Ella from Councilmember Pinto's office.
Good to see you all. Hi. Yeah, I'm stepping in for Victoria tonight. We had a schedule change with our ANC assignments this month, but it's good to be here. I wanted to just start off by reminding everybody about Councilmember Pinto's top priorities. They continue to be improving public safety, helping our neighbors experiencing homelessness move into housing, supporting our small business community and downtown recovery, moving towards a more sustainable environment, and improving our transit system, and empowering women and girls. And we work on these issues both from a legislative point of view and from constituent services. So Councilmember Pinto explicitly wanted me to start off by mentioning that she spoke directly with the mayor recently about the ongoing issues at the Pat Handy shelter, both public safety and public health issues that we know continue to be a real concern in the neighborhood. And she renewed her request for additional services and resources to be provided around the shelter. So we will continue to keep you updated on our work there, and we appreciate your engagement with our office on that issue. As many of you may have seen, we are hosting in-person office hours, one-on-one office hours with a council member at the Wilson Building. We've done 2 so far, and our next one will be on December 9th, which you can sign up for an appointment with the council member. I'll put a link in the chat on how to sign up. In regards to public safety, as I mentioned earlier, Councilmember Pinto continues to be very focused on improving public safety in Ward 2 and across the city. She held a community meeting recently with Attorney General Racine, U.S. Attorney Graves, MPD Chief Conti, and the Trigger Project And a video of that event is available on our website if you weren't able to make the event. In regards to transportation, Councilmember Pinto held her Ward 2 community bike ride a few weekends ago. You'll recall we had tried to do this several times this year, and we had a hurricane one weekend and extreme heat another weekend. So we were finally able to do this, and we appreciate everyone who was able to attend. If you were not able to attend, always feel free to reach out to us with specific requests or concerns so that we're aware of what's going on in your ANC. We have a very busy legislative session as we are now wrapping up the council period. So you may have heard that there was temporary legislation to allow virtual ANC meetings that was set to expire on November 19th. And the council passed an extension that now allows this to be continued through mid-February 2023, and permanent legislation is being discussed to continue allowing virtual ANC meetings. Today, at our legislative meeting, 2 of Councilmember Pinto's bills were advanced. The BEST Act was marked up in the Committee of the Whole and then passed unanimously in the legislative meeting. This bill simplifies the business licensing process by reducing licensing categories that are we currently have over 100 licensing categories, and this bill reduces them to just 11 and reduces licensing fees across the board. So we're very excited about that bill moving forward. It just needs one more vote on December 6th. Councilmember Pinto's Period Act was also passed today with unanimous support. This requires that period products be provided for free in all government buildings in both women's and gender neutral bathrooms. We are looking forward to funding that bill in FY24 budget. Next week, the Recovery Act, also Councilmember Pinto's bill, will have a hearing on November 22nd. This bill is in regards to economic recovery in the downtown corridor, specifically for incentivizing office to housing conversions. But we hope that many of you will sign up to testify at that hearing and share how you view the future of downtown as we recover from the pandemic. Also today, a big day, the council took the second vote and final vote on the revised Criminal Code Act. This is the first comprehensive review and update of DC's criminal code since 1901. So it was a huge effort to completely rewrite our criminal code. The review has been a culmination of more than a decade and a half of research and collaboration among many experts and input from other stakeholders in our community to ensure our criminal code is clear, fair, and just. Councilmember Pinto did introduce one amendment to the criminal code, which would raise the maximum allowed sentences for firearm possession offenses. Unfortunately, this did not pass, but she is still voted in favor of the RCCA as we feel that it is a tremendous improvement from our current criminal code, which even the U.S. Attorney's Office will state makes very little sense and is very difficult to use for prosecutors in the city. Finally, I will share the link to Councilmember Pinto's statement from a few weeks ago condemning recent anti-Semitic incidents nationally and sadly here in DC. We're deeply concerned about a rise in anti-Semitism in our region, most recently in Colorado. And so, as I said, I'll post her statement in the chat, but we're following this issue closely. That is all for me this month. And like I said, I mentioned several things that I will provide more details to in the chat, but I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much, Ella. I appreciate your update. I'm curious about the engagement with the council member and the mayor. Was there any action items that came out of that regarding Pat Handy?
Yeah, so I think she went through a list of all of the concerns that you all have raised and requested specific resources from agencies related to those issues. So I don't think the mayor made any commitments in that meeting, but we're continuing to follow up with her and her team.
Got it. What can we do as constituents to make sure that I know we had a meeting with the mayor earlier this year, in which she kind of blew us off after 20 or 30 minutes in the process, which I find offensive. I'm wondering to know, is the council member pushing the mayor? And I mean, really pushing the mayor, because this is an issue that has been going on way too long.
Yeah, I mean, it's the top priority of the council members. And as I said, it was the number one topic of her meeting with the mayor recently.
Got it. Got it. Um, and yeah, I just hope that, we've been hoping, and I know, Ella, this is not your issue, but I hope this message gets carried back, that we have been demanding action to happen, and we felt like fell on deaf ears, and that leadership, including the mayor, has failed to take action to address the concerns of citizens. I appreciate Councilmember Pinto holding the event related to crime in the area, and what I took away from that is that it is a feeling that we're all having. It is not backed in statistics. And I can assure you that when I walk down the street, it is not a feeling. It is just a moment away from happening crime in our area. It continues to create problems for our constituents to be able to use our community and use it safely. So I would certainly hope that some action comes of this, and that a timeline be established for action. Because if there's just talk like there has been for 3 years, it's just useless to even happen. I don't know what else we could do. I'm kind of like throwing up my arms at this, saying I don't know what to do, except I have citizens, including some that are on this call, that are banding together to form a community security network in our area, which I find that is absolutely insane, that we have citizens having to band together to form a police force to be able to enforce safety in our neighborhood.
I hear you. And I can tell you, while I was not there for the conversation with the mayor, I'm there in all of our staff meetings, and I can say this is an issue that's brought up at every single one of our staff meetings. And I understand that it's extremely frustrating that you haven't seen the changes that you have been requesting, but I can assure you that our office has been doing everything that we can to try and get movement here.
Got it. I think that the next step for the community and for me in this situation, especially because DHS hasn't responded to our concerns. The shelters operators have not responded to our concerns. The security people at the shelter has not responded. DGS has not responded appropriately. So our next step is to just call NBC, for the other media stations, and just say, downtown is in a complete spiral of I don't even know how to describe it. I was just in Portugal for 10 days, and I want to tell you, I did not feel unsafe 1 second while I was there. There was not one business that was shuttered in that communities. In any of those 9 cities that I was in, I saw maybe 2 signs for people that have spaces for lease. I am tired of the council member talking about period products. I am so sorry to say this and bring this up. I think it is a good thing to advocate for, but I need freaking police and security on the streets and people to do their jobs in our neighborhood. That's what I want to figure out, how we are going to have that happen. And I think these are great. These are little bills, and I'm really, really my fuse has really come to the end about we're using all of our resources. We're doing all of these things. It is just it's just placating. There's nothing happening. Nothing. I'm just so frustrated. And all of these members on here, most of these members are also very frustrated. To have to walk your kid by some person every morning who has littered all around him and yells at them, to having people pooping in alleyways and on the streets, to have drug dealers in broad daylight selling drugs at the metro stop in Metro Center and no one doing anything about it. No one. To have noise that penetrates the residences' homes from people playing music on the street that they can't sleep at night. This is unacceptable. Unacceptable. And can you please have Councilmember Pinto come to our next meeting in December and tell us what are the real action steps that are being taken to address these issues? I just don't know what to do with this.
I understand your frustration and we'll take that back to her. But yeah, I will do that.
Please
I
do
can
that.
assure you that we are working on these, and I will say that period poverty is a serious issue, and it is not something that we are not spending time on that to distract us from other issues. We have a lot of competing concerns that we try to address equally. And so I am sorry that you feel that the issues have not been addressed. Your concerns have not been heard, and I will take that back. But
I can't say that I know one thing that Councilmember Pinto's office has done to address these issues that we have talked about in downtown. I don't know of one thing.
I can send you a list of budget items of the investments we've made in the police and the conversations and the meetings we've had with MPD to urge them to have additional resources in your neighborhood.
Excellent. It's not communicated. We have no idea it's happening. No idea. Nothing's happening. That's the perception.
I'm happy to follow up with more information tomorrow. I think Suzanne had a question.
Yeah, I'm the chair. I will be the one that calls on people in the situation. Commissioner Nelson, do you have anything else?
I do not. I think that you have addressed our concerns. What most of the people in this community and on this call are feeling. So thank you for that.
Suzanne, I know your hand was up.
Yes, and then I lowered it because, Michael, I don't think I could possibly say it any better than what you've just done. Thank you so much. I am tired of hearing about period products. That's not to say it's not important. I get it. Being a woman, I get it. It's insulting to hear it at every ANC meeting when we have the issues, the very real safety issues in our neighborhood that we've been trying to get some attention for, or some attention put on for the last 3 years, as Michael stated. And I'll stop at that because I can't duplicate or do anything better than what you just said, Michael. You got it all. Thank you.
Commissioner-elect Thomas Lee.
Hey, thank you, Michael. Ella, a quick question for you, and thank you, Michael, for sharing, expressing what many of our concerns that we have in our community. I really hope that Ella will take that to Commissioner Pinto and we get some action on some of these items. Ella, a quick question for you about the vote today in council about the passage of the new Criminal Reform Act. What was I didn't get the news, but what was the vote? And I know that the mayor and the chief of police had some concerns about the act itself and that they were they're asking for consideration of some of their concerns. Is the mayor on board now, and has the committee addressed the chief of police's concerns and the mayor's concerns, and I think Ms. Pinto's concerns as well?
Yeah, I can say there is, for the vast majority of the issues on the bill, there was support amongst the council and all the government agencies, including the mayor. There were a few outstanding issues, which I think when it's such a large bill that there are going to be areas of disagreement. And I think that was one of the reasons the council member introduced the amendment today, which, like I said, unfortunately didn't pass. But I can't speak for the mayor, but I think Charles Allen, who is the chair of the Judiciary Committee, tried to do his best to take into consideration all of the points of view, including MPD and the U.S. Attorney's Office.
Mm-hmm. What was the vote on Councilor Pinto's amendment? Did she get support? Any support?
Mary Che voted in support of it, and that the rest did not.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Ella. I appreciate you being here and you conveying our concern to Councilmember Pinto and taking this back. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, and I will pass along your concerns.
Thanks. MPD 1, please. I see Captain Roth. Did I see you on there? There, I saw you.
Sure. Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. A little busy. I'm the acting commander while Commander Bryant was on leave this week. So it's been quite the week. It's my first time doing it. So it's all new to me. So how's everybody doing tonight?
Very good, thank you.
It's good. I won't take up too much of your time. I just want to give you guys some stats. So we've had 2 robberies and 1 ADW in the Chinatown area in the last 30 days. One of those robberies was closed with an arrest. We suspect the second one will be closed shortly. We got some pretty good lookouts and stuff. They both happened right near 7th and H. But that's really it for the violent crime. For the entire sector, our violent crime is down 21%, and our property crime is down just 1%. But we have a total -4 grand total for overall reduction over the last 30 to 60 days. Again, our year-to-date total was still up 18%. But when I took over in June, that was at 40%. So I'm going to keep saying that because 22% in a little over 100 days. I'm not probably going to get a reduction by the end of the year, but I'm going to keep fighting for it. But we'll try. Let me switch over to. Oh, I did want to bring up one note. Does everybody have the 311 app on their phone? So if you do, awesome. If you don't, I would recommend you download it. So what they do is when MPD does a 311 request, they kind of prioritize it. So in response to some of those robberies and some of the violent stuff and stolen autos up in the Chinatown area, myself and Lieutenant Mulrooney, we came up there the other night. And we probably put in 50 311 requests for outlights. DPW said that they fixed most of them, and I have ridden around up there in the last couple of nights, and it seems like it's been a little bit brighter in the area, but you guys see it every night, so hopefully it is, especially along where the museum was in front of Cap 1. I think every light on that block was out, so they should all be working now. So, but we are trying to attack all of these things from every angle, not only with some police presence, but environmental factors. If you need tree trimming, graffiti removal, lights, all that stuff, we're out there trying to get as much of it taken care of as possible. But one thing that kind of is still a concern for me is the stolen autos. A lot of our stolen autos are still hop-ins. And it's a lot of the delivery drivers. So we have had some help from Department of For Hire Vehicles. They did come through one night and kind of help us out. I'm going to put another request in there to see if we can get them to come out on a more frequent basis. But a lot of times what it is like Uber Eats or somebody will pull up, jump out of their car, leave it running with the keys in, which I don't know why you would ever do that, but they do it.
Right.
But and then they come back 5 minutes later and wonder why their car is stolen. So, I mean, in a perfect world, yeah, you could do that, but we don't live in a perfect world, especially right around there with the issues that we're having with the homeless population. I don't know if someone from Pat Handy is on the call or not, but I did get a little bit of an update. So from what I understand, they are supposed to be renovating that and returning it to a women's only shelter. That was supposed to have been done already, but apparently it's not going to happen until, I guess, sometime next year. So that's the update that I got. I don't want to speak on it because I'm not too smart on it, but I know that that's been a kind of a sticking point for everybody. We did do a meet and greet over there with Pat Handy and some of the officers and stuff so that we can be on better terms with their security. We met with Walgreens right there at 7th and H. One of my lieutenants went up there and spoke to them just about some of their security concerns and how to better, I guess, handle some of the issues that they've been having. So I think that's it for the 1D side. The majority of the crimes, I don't know if you guys have crime cards up or not, but if you can see, a lot of them are just regular thefts and theft from autos. So my big concern would be don't leave anything of value in your car. If you have a dirty gym bag full of dirty clothes, someone will probably break your window and take that.
Right.
And then really, we kind of do deep dives every once in a while into the crimes to kind of see if there's patterns or trends or anything that we can pick up on and maybe try to stop. And one of those is tip jars. So if one of the businesses has like a tip jar, I've been trying to talk to the bids about doing away with actual physical tip jars and maybe like a digital currency thing or however they want to, give a tip. But, it's easy for one of these guys to just walking off the street, grab the tip jar. It got 10, 15, 20 bucks in it. And then, that's, a pretty good day for him. So we're trying to get the message out there. We're trying to work with the bids to get like the QR codes and stuff. So when the officers do business checks, they're actually physically in the building. And we're putting out like anti-theft flyers that you may see going up in some of the businesses, just as a reminder to not leave your car running when you run in to one of the restaurants. So, yeah. But other than that, I'm open for any questions. I see you, Mr. Marks, you got one.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'll let you.
Yeah, thank you, Captain. Commissioner Nelson, do you have any questions?
I don't. Thank you, Captain Wall.
Great. And Howard Marks?
Yes, Captain Roth, thank you so much for your report. I wasn't aware of these 4 robberies that you mentioned at 7th and H. As you know, our building is located at the intersection of 7th and H, at the foot of the Chinatown Friendship Arch, 300 people, 192 units. So, of course, we're very concerned about what you just reported. Could you give us, please, some more details about each of them? Thank you.
Sure. There was only 2 of them.
Oh, okay.
One of them, I don't want to give out too much information on it, but one of them, there was a guy, I guess he was up there handing out $20 bills to some of the homeless people and then making disparaging remarks to them. And then he ended up getting beat up. And they took him. So we ended up making an arrest in that case. And then the other one was, it was a guy that I think left one of the bars up there. And I don't know all the circumstances around what the encounter was, but someone like beat him up and like took his hat and his chain. But those were right there at right near like the Metro. And those were the only 2. But the one guy, the one that was handing out the $20 bills and stuff, he's kind of a frequent flyer. He's been up there a couple of times, and I don't want to say causing trouble, but doing some things that I probably wouldn't be doing at 2 o'clock in the morning in Chinatown. So, but unfortunately, yes, he was a victim of a robbery. But like I said, we did make a closure in that case. And then we got some pretty good video footage and still shots of the suspects in the other case. And I imagine that the Chinatown units will probably ID that person and have them locked up probably pretty shortly.
Well, thank you so much. Obviously, the second incident is of much more interest to us. We did have a resident a couple of months ago who was assaulted in front of our building. So thanks for your work and your service. And we do appreciate, by the way, having these patrol cars parked on either 7th or H. And it's quite reassuring. And plus the mounted units on bicycles. We're very appreciative, Captain, for this kind of police presence. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I try to keep a car at 7th and H, and selfishly, because I know that if I put one there, generally I won't have too many problems, knock on wood. But I try to put one there, and I try to split time between there and like Mount Vernon Triangle. So, but yeah, when I have the manpower, I definitely try to hold down Chinatown. That's where I get all my robberies from. So if I can put as many units up there as I can, that's what I'm going to do.
Thank you so much, Captain. And we have Commissioner-elect Lee.
Thank you, Captain. A few quick questions. Is it possible to keep a permanent presence on that intersection? Number one. Number two, do you have enough cameras around, or do you think you need more? And number three, do you and your officers think that the current crime bill that's currently before the mayor will make your job easier or harder?
Let me say, so the first, your first question, if I can keep a more permanent presence there, I'm trying. Due to what our manpower is, I try to put a car up there as much as possible. We do have some robbery overtime that we've been allowed to have. So I do have units dedicated. There should be 2 up there, and I think I have them until like 4 in the morning up there. It might be, I have to double check. We ended up switching it because H Street over in Northeast and like the Capitol Hill community, they've been experiencing like a massive increase in robberies. And we've been getting robbery sprees. So during those robbery sprees, unfortunately, I was touched in my sector. We were kind of like on the line, and I ended up getting, I think, maybe 2 or 3 robberies out of that. One was an attempted carjacking over at the Walmart. So those I expect will close. Those have been assigned to MPD's carjacking task force. So I say all that to say we had to kind of rethink our robbery overtime and how we're deploying. So we made like a power shift, which is I think they're going to start coming in around like 8 o'clock at night and staying further into the morning hours to help us cover that gap when our evening officers are transitioning out and our midnight units are coming on. So there should be more of a presence up there, but I don't want to promise you that I'm going to have a car up there all the time and then fall short of that. So. But what I will tell you is I put one up there as often as I can. As far as I'm sorry, what was your second question?
Cameras. Do you have enough cameras there to as a form of deterrence, and then also the recent crime bill or the act that's currently before the mayor?
Right. So the cameras, I don't know who would be in charge of it, maybe Gallery Place or what it is. There's along 7th Street. The cameras are great and we really use them and they help us close a lot of crimes. But if there could be one right when you're coming up to the top of the metro, if you look to your left, if there could be a camera right there behind that bus stop, that would probably help us out significantly. We're trying to get like some MPD crime cams and stuff like that put over here. From what I've been told, we're first on the list. but I'm not really going to have a say in how those are allocated, especially with the robbery sprees that are going on over on Capitol Hill. That might pool some of those resources. But I'm definitely going to fight for as much stuff that I can get in my sector as possible. But if you're asking if something can be done, a camera right there, you guys, there's one right on 7th, right before H. I just need one on H right before 7th. And that will help us see, you know, where Metro has, I guess they're doing some work right there, and they have that, they kind of congregate behind there. And if the officer sits at 7th and H, he has a hard time seeing. So, I mean, they get out and they move around and stuff like that, but it's easier for them to do things behind that cover or that little shelter right there than it normally would be. So a camera right there would be a great benefit. As far as the crime bill, I'm not going to wade too far into that. I'm not smart enough on it to really know how difficult it's going to make our job. I would assume, depending on what's in it, honestly, things probably aren't going to change too much for us. I mean, we'll probably still make the arrests, and however they sentence and dole out punishment, you know, that has nothing to do with us. So I think that, you know, it'll just be more on the sentencing side than, now if they get rid of like some of the things like urinating in public, defecating in public, stuff like that, you know, those are quality of life things that I feel should be addressed. But you know, I'm really not too smart on it, so I don't want to say too much about it.
Great. Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
No problem.
Any other questions for the captain? Thank you for all the work that you and your officers do. We do appreciate that.
Yes, sir. And if you guys have any concerns, or if you think of something that you forgot to say, just justin.roth@dc.gov, and I'll try to get on it right away.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is anyone here from MPD2? Okay. And I see we have Declan Falls with us this evening from Council Member or Council Chair Phil Mendelson's office. Sorry.
No problem. Thanks so much for having me again, commissioners and members of the community. For those I haven't met yet, my name is Declan, and I work in Chairman Mendelson's office as a part of his constituent services team. I'll put all of my contact info in the chat as soon as I'm done. Please feel free to reach out at any point if you have questions or comments for the chairman, or if you need help with a constituent services concern, I'm happy to connect you with our team. Just a couple of quick updates. I know Ella covered a bunch of things I was going to talk about already. The council's wrapping up its legislative session, and today there was a legislative meeting, including the final vote on the revised Criminal Code Act. The chairman's Schools First and Budgeting bill was originally up for a vote today, but was pushed back to December 6th. That's the bill that has the goal of stabilizing school budgets going forward. Coming up on November 30th, the chairman's also holding hearings on chronic absenteeism and truancy in schools. If you're interested in learning more about those hearings or signing up to testify, you can do so at the chairman's website, chairmanmendelson.com. And then lastly, yesterday evening, the chairman held his monthly town hall meeting on Facebook and YouTube and discussed a number of topics from the criminal code revisions to the DC Housing Authority and a whole bunch of other topics that we got questions on. So if you do want to watch that town hall back, it's available on the chairman's Facebook page. We'll be holding one more town hall in December, so look out for announcements on the chairman's social media of that town hall in just a couple of weeks. Those are my updates at the moment, but again, thank you for having me. I'm going to put all of my contact info in the chat, and I'm happy to take questions.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your update. Commissioner Nelson, do you have any update or any comments for Mr. Falls? Sorry, I'm just
That's okay.
my brain
No,
is out tonight.
Declan, thank you for being here with us. I don't have any questions, but did want to say thank you for being here with us.
Absolutely.
It's great. Thank you so much, Declan. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to local events that impact the community. Do I think I see Diane Romo Thomas on? If you could want to come on and talk about the Rock and Roll Half Marathon for March 18th, 2023. I think you may be on mute. No. Are you on a phone? And is your phone muted? Yep. You want to try to restart and come back on? Sorry. Oh, we're not hearing you at all. We'll come back to you. Do we have, we'll move on to the 21st annual Thanksgiving America's Trot for Hunger 5K. Do we have anybody representing the 5K on this evening?
Yes, I am here on behalf of some and so others might eat.
Hey, thank you so much, Brett. I appreciate you being here.
Absolutely.
Tell us what's happening.
Yes. So, like I said, on behalf of some, so others might eat, a community hunger, homelessness, and poverty organization that's been in DC for over 50 years. And so our Trot for Hunger is our largest fundraising event each year. We're on track to have over 10,000 participants join us to work off an extra slice of pie that they are earning while supporting a really good cause on Thanksgiving morning. So this is the Trot for Hunger. We've recently gone under a name change as well. So it's America's Trot for Hunger this year. We are here in America's City. Last year, we had participants in 46 states and 7 countries, and we're actually ahead of that already this year. So it made sense, and we're the largest event that happens in the DC community on Thanksgiving morning. So we utilize the traditional 5K course that a number of other 5Ks operate, and I'm happy to share my screen, or I will put the link in the chat to the course map, but it starts at Freedom Plaza, runs along Pennsylvania Avenue to 3rd Street, and then down 3rd Street to Independence before looping back upon itself. But we've received all the conditional approvals from the Mayor's Task Force group, are in constant communication with MPD, Department of Health, as well as DPW and partner organizations. And of course, it's not complete without having multiple jurisdictions involved too. So our NPS permit, US Capitol Police, US Park Police, and all of the other jurisdictions that are involved in helping us operate a fun, successful, and our largest event to date.
That is great. That is awesome. And you do this as a fundraiser, right?
Correct. So we are a true fundraising event. It is put on. I am employed by some. I am not an outside consultant, so I'm with some full time. And it is a fundraising event. More than 91 cents of every single dollar we raise will go right to our mission.
That's great. Totally awesome. And this is a great event that has been happening for quite a while in the city. So thank you for that. And I see Brett has put a link in the chat. Commissioner Nelson, do you have any questions for Brett?
No, thank you, Brett.
Any community members have any questions? This is following the standard kind of route in the city for a lot of these races. So this is terrific. So I'd like to move that we send a letter of support for America's Trot for Hunger 5K.
A second.
Okay, and all those in favor? 2 of 2 voting in favor of that. So Brett will get that letter off pretty quickly because it's right around the corner.
Thank you so very much for your continued support. I'll follow up with an email too, with the registration website and a discount code for your constituents as well.
That sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
That. All right, I see Diane has returned.
Tell me you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. Yay!
Back up. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. So good evening, everyone. My name is Diane Thomas, and I'm back in front of this ANC for the 15th year for the upcoming Rock and Roll Half Marathon and 5K. If you guys are familiar with this, we used to have a full marathon, and we have dropped the marathon a couple of years ago. It will not come back. So we are only working with the half marathon and a 5K. So this event is Saturday, March 18th. It's usually always the third Saturday in March. And traditionally, 2C has hosted our start line, which is along Constitution Avenue from 14th Street, and the corrals run all the way down to 10th Street along Constitution. That's, again, same this year. The start of that race is 8:30 in the morning, and we usually clear that finish line out by 9:30. It usually takes about an hour and a half, so it's about 10 that all those runners are gone on their way westbound on Constitution into the Foggy Bottom neighborhood and up through Rock Creek Park. This year, a little new change. As a lot of you know, RFK has gone under is under development now, and they're starting to move some things around over there at RFK, which is traditionally where this race ended. This year, with the help of MPD, we are looking to bring the finish line to, as you can see, thank you, Commissioner, down to Pennsylvania Avenue. And where the change is, you will see on K Street, runners traditionally would come southbound on North Capitol Street and go eastbound on K into Capitol Hill. This year, with the guidance of MPD, we would like to bring them down westbound on K. So they're going to go down, running down south on North Capitol, making a right on K, coming over to 4th Street, going southbound on 4th Street, all the way to E, over E to 6th, down 6th, and finishing at 4th in Pennsylvania. And so this is what MPD worked very closely with us. It is a Saturday morning. We thought this would be the least impactful route. We have driven I've driven, that part. Noted a lot of the high rises along that most of those high rises have egress behind the building onto 5th Street and some other streets. We also have mostly federal buildings you're going to see on that part, as you guys know, since this is your ANC. Working with MPD, we have the FBI, we passed by the police memorial is there, but we've contacted a lot of these groups that the bigger groups that we may have, impact on a Saturday morning. The time frame is about 7 a.m. when you'll start seeing a street closure, and the race wraps up at 1:15 there at 4th in Pennsylvania. So you're looking at about 13,000 runners this year in this event. And new, which you'll also see, is the 5K. See, this never impacted you before because the 5K, would run over there at RFK Stadium. Right. If you see there, the 5K is actually going to start at 3rd in Pennsylvania and just really use the same course that the half marathon is using. So they're going to be westbound and going up Pennsylvania to 6, over to E, up to 4th, over to K, North Cap, make a loop and come back down. 5K is a much smaller event. It's only got about 2,000 runners. That's the expected field size. And you'll see kids, strollers, all sorts of people on the 5K event. That's obviously a much smaller course. It's still timed, but it's a much smaller field size than you'll see in the half marathon. And that will start at 8 a.m. So they will clear that before you see the half marathoners coming back in there and finishing. They'll use the same finish as the half marathon as well, as you can see. So that's the change for 2023. Again, this was guided by MPD. I know there's a firehouse on that route as well. They've already worked with the fire department on that as far as egress in and out. This race stops for ambulances. It stops for any emergencies. So that is definitely a priority, and we always have done that. Our timeline is pretty good. We should be cleared out of everything about all those streets there. We should be wrapped up by 1 o'clock, 1:15 with street cleanup as well. So I wanted to get out to you guys early. I know we have a couple of new commissioners. Congratulations on your election. That will be in these ANC seats coming into the new year. I'm happy to come back if you feel it necessary that I need to come back and update. I don't mind that at all. But that's in a nutshell. the 2023 Rock and Roll Marathon, half marathon.
That is fantastic. Always a great event. So I do appreciate you coming out early and presenting too for us. So thank you. And I know that that there is this change at the end that is happening, and I know that we had talked about the egresses there to some of the buildings as well. Commissioner Nelson, do you have any additional questions?
No, I don't. Thanks, Diane.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Any community members have questions or concerns? Awesome. Then I would like to move that we send a letter of support for the Rock and Roll half marathon and 5K, which I'll add on there.
Yeah.
Second.
Awesome. And all those in favor? Fantastic. So 2 of 2 commissioners voting in favor of that. So terrific. We'll get a letter off for you. Thank you so much, and have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Brett, you as well.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay. We have next we are moving on to Abra licensing. We have Nando Peri Peri at 836 F Street Northwest, a new retailer's Class C restaurant, Abra 122856. And we have Mendel.
Hi, good evening, commissioners, neighbors. This is Manal Mahmood with Malios Orion and Sandground on behalf of the applicant. Thank you so much for having me tonight. This is going to be, a standard Nando's modeled very similarly to the others located in the city. And the hours are 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. on weekdays, and then 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday.
Got it. And is this replacing the Nando's on 7th Street?
I believe there will be some overlap, but yes, that will be the new Nando's in the neighborhood.
Got it. And is this going in where the Spy Museum?
Exactly.
Okay, got it. We got it. I was trying to figure out like all the logistics of this. So this is great.
Yeah, no, and the Nando's will be about 3,000 square feet of that on the first floor.
Got it. I'll just put this up here for us to take a quick look at on the licensing. So it's pretty standard. It's all interior. Oh, there's a sidewalk cafe.
There's a small sidewalk cafe.
Got it. Awesome. And that street, I know that it is under a residential building there, but the hours look consistent with what we require for our neighborhood. So that's great.
Great.
Commissioner Nelson, do you have any questions?
Yeah, so I'm trying to picture that corner or that street now, but I don't remember that sidewalk is all that wide. So I'm kind of wondering what the layout of the sidewalk cafe is going to look like.
Again, I think they're only planning, I know it says 12 seats. I don't even know if they'll have that. And it will be along the windows.
Okay.
And again, it has to pass, the public space permitting. So they'll make sure that there's the 6 feet or how many ever feet is needed. But it won't be in rows to take up that entire sidewalk by any means.
Okay. And is this restaurant going to be larger than the one at 7th Street, or is it smaller? Or is it the same?
I have not been to the one on 7th Street. This one is going to be 3,000 square feet. So I can't compare, but I can definitely ask and send you an email tomorrow.
Okay, that's fine. I had the same question as Michael. I was like, wait a minute, don't we already have it?
I know. I was like, what? So, this is great.
Do you know what the overlap is going to be like between when this one opens and the other one closes?
I'm not sure about that. No.
Okay. That's all I wanted to know. But thank you so much, Manel. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, commissioners.
And I think that this is like on the same street as Shake Shack. And
Exactly. Shake Shack is right there.
And they have a series of tables that kind of run down the windows there.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's going to be kind of that
Exactly.
size.
Okay.
Of a
It looks
space.
like Thomas has a question.
Yes, Thomas.
Yeah, this is going to be right beside Shake Shack. Is that correct?
I think there's the Shake Shack, and then there's a small door, and then the Nando's is the next door over.
Cool.
Yeah. Terrific. Commissioner, any other questions, comments?
No, not for me. I can go ahead and move for the letter of support if you want.
I would love that, and I will second that.
Okay, all in favor?
All those in favor? Yay! So 2 of 2 voting in favor of that. Terrific. It seems a little counterintuitive that we all do this, but it's like there's only 2 of us. Next on the docket is, do you know when that is going to be opening?
Yeah, we're hoping for March, so we won't need a stipulated license in this circumstance. Yeah, thank you very much.
Terrific. So next on our agenda is District E, which is an Airmark Sports and Entertainment Services at 701 7th Street Northwest, a new retailer's Class C tavern, Abra 122857.
Yes, surprise me again.
You.
And this, I don't know if anyone had been to, this is taking over the Bar Louie space. Oh. And again, it's going to be, a bar with American cuisine. And it's going to be open when there are events happening at the Capital One Center. And then beyond that, one of the main purposes for this space is for companies and firms to use it for private events, networking events, holiday parties, that sort of thing, which is why we requested the entertainment endorsement. And there's no street presence whatsoever.
Got it. Yeah, this address really did fool me a little bit. I was like, is this the Chipotle? Is it the McDonald's? Is it,
is it the Regal Cinema? Exactly.
So it's the former Bar Louie space. So gotcha.
Exactly.
Gotcha. And this is totally interior. I have no concern with this at all. Commissioner Nelson?
None from me.
Okay. Is there any comments from community? Then I would love to move that we send a letter of support for District E.
A second.
Okay, and all those in favor? Awesome. So 2 of 2 commissioners voting in favor of that. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, commissioners.
Great. Now I have to ask, are you new at the O'Brien practice or?
I'm the newest member. I've been there for about a year and a half now.
Gotcha.
Oh, no, not even.
Gotcha. Well, welcome.
Thank you so much.
I think this is the first meeting that you have attended for
yes,
us.
Yes, so, exactly, correct.
That's awesome. Well, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I hope to see you all soon.
Awesome. We'll get these letters out to you for you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Awesome. Next, we would like to move to transportation and public space. And this will be for the National Children's Museum at 1300 Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest. And this is for I believe I'm going to say this correctly, a drop-off location, a bus drop-off location. And I think I saw Meredith Haim on the...
Hi, hello. Yes, thank you so much for for having me, Commissioner Schenkel, Commissioner Nelson, Commissioner-elect Lee. I really appreciate you having the museum here. I'm Meredith Hom. I'm our Director of External Affairs at National Children's Museum, proudly located in downtown DC, Ward 2. And if you're not familiar with our location, I know Commissioner Schenkel just shared, but we are adjacent to the Ronald Reagan building on top of Woodrow Wilson Plaza, right there at 13th and Pennsylvania Avenue. For some DC history, we are the location that was formerly the Aria restaurant. And if you want to go back even further, it was Michael Jordan's restaurant prior to that. So we have changed that space into a wonderful 30,000 square foot location to expand young minds. So we're thrilled to be downtown, and thank you again for having me today.
Awesome.
So you could move to the next slide. Thank you again, Commissioner Schenkel, for helping me navigate this. Again, we're a cultural and educational institution located in the district, and we're a hands-on hub for interactive learning. We center around science, technology, engineering, arts, and math concepts. We have playful exhibits and experiences, all for children under the age of 12 and their families. So as you can imagine, a critical piece of our work is providing complementary learning experiences to classrooms, to students and educators. And so this fall and spring alone, we're going to be serving close to 3,000 students through field trips. That's about 120 classrooms that will be visiting us on site, which is a very exciting number, and will only expand as we open more field trip slots throughout the year. Again, as you can imagine, many of these classrooms are taking buses to our site. And as it stands, we do not currently have a dedicated safe school bus drop-off zone. So instead, buses are illegally parking, loading, and unloading right now on Pennsylvania Avenue. It's a busier thoroughfare, a bit more dangerous there. So we've been in communication with the District Department of Transportation since 2019 to try to determine the best location for a safe school bus drop-off. A site survey in 2019 with Director Meridian's team at the time indicated that 12th Street South was going to be an ideal location versus Pennsylvania Avenue. We've then been working with Director Lott's team to determine what that scope of work will actually look like and what would be required. For some background as it relates to the request, the museum is open 6 days a week from 9:30 in the morning until 4:30 in the evening. Tuesdays are the only days that we are closed. Our heaviest bus traffic occurs from August to June while classrooms are in school and taking field trips. Although we do see healthy numbers of summer camp groups and larger groups come through the space that are taking buses, and we see those in particular during the summer. So a nice year-round visitation there. Mm-hmm. On the 18th, DDOT submitted a notice of intent to hopefully install a motor coach loading zone is the name, and it's at the southbound curb in the 300 block of the 12th Street South that I mentioned before. And Commissioner Schenkel, if you want to go 2 slides down, there is a map that will help visualize, or a photo, excuse me, that helps visualize that. This was determined to be a great location, obviously in proximity to the museum. In addition, it's also could be used for groups visiting the Ronald Reagan building and any drop-offs that are occurring to Federal Triangle as well, since that is a nice major hub for Metro. Mm-hmm. This request will remove 3 hourly metered spaces. That's 66 feet of parking space. As you all are very well aware, with the 18th being the date of submission, I believe my understanding is that the NOI period of response runs through December 1st. So I'm here to answer any questions that you might have about the initial request. And if there's any particular specifications or technical questions that you have for DDOT, I'm happy to liaise with our community engagement liaison, Donovan Boyd, in that capacity as well. and hope to answer any questions that you have. Thank you again for having me.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. And this is on 12th Street as you come out of the tunnel.
Correct. It's the southbound side.
On the southbound side. Gotcha.
So that would be heading towards the tunnel.
Heading towards the tunnel. Gotcha. Now I can picture
exactly.
it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
And is the museum directly across from there?
So if you go underneath the archways that are within that photo, the museum sits right on top of Woodrow Wilson Plaza. So it's a direct shot to the museum, which is helpful for educators.
And is this going to be just like a drop-off, pick-up loading zone?
My understanding is that it's just loading, so there won't be parking permitted. It will just be to unload and load.
To unload and gotcha. I think this makes a lot of sense. It's a lot of a safety issue too, in a bus full of 12-year-olds and trying to wrangle.
Yes, that can sometimes be difficult.
Yes, definitely. But I don't, and I believe that this area, this is not a huge parking area, and I believe one of those cars in your picture is actually illegally parked. So
happens quite frequently.
Exactly. I don't have any challenges with this, with the removal of these 3 parking spaces for this loading zone. Commissioner Nelson?
No, I mean, like you said, it sounds like it's something that's needed. I mean, we all hate to lose parking spaces down here because there are so few and far between as it is, but I think that this is more important. So, yeah.
Great. And Commissioner-elect.
Hi, Meredith. Are you Meredith? Are you anticipating any objections?
We can't really hear you, Thomas. Could you maybe?
Are you anticipating any objections from anyone on this request?
No, we were not anticipating any objections. We just wanted to make sure that we were doing our due diligence and being good neighbors and coming to the ANC to ensure that there weren't any questions.
Great. Yeah, I think this makes a lot of sense, and I think that rather than having people double park and try to
right.
do that makes a lot of sense for this area. So I'd like to move that we send a letter of support for the motor coach loading zone at the southbound curb of the 300 block of 12th Street Northwest.
Second.
Okay, awesome. And all those in favor? Okay, 2 of 2 voting in favor. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Great. And did they happen to give you a number with the notice of intent?
They may have. Let me take a look and see if I have that, and then I could drop that in the chat to you, okay. Commissioner Schenkel.
That would be great.
And if not, I will get it for you and email it to you.
Yep. And if not, I can dig around and try to find it too. So
thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Next we'll move on to planning, zoning, and environment and historic preservation at 600 I Street Northwest, Monument Realty, extension of the application to the I Street Northwest Development Project. And do we have Jessica or someone on from that group?
Yes, good evening.
Hello. Hi, Jessica. How are you?
I'm doing well. You all speed through your meetings faster than other ANCs.
But this is unusual. This is very unusual.
It's nice. No, you guys do great work. And my colleague Lewis Kelly from Monument Realty is on. Oh, there he is.
Hello. Good evening.
Hi, Lewis.
So we will be brief. Good evening, commissioners. For the record, I'm Jessica Bloomfield with the law firm of Holland and Knight. We are here. Oh, you know what? We sent you a PowerPoint
Yes, I am looking for it right now. Let me see here. Whoops,
I'm happy to pull it up if that's easier.
if you have it available right there, that would be awesome.
Okay, I can do that.
Oh, of course, everyone I was looking for, and there I found it. But that's fine. You got it.
You can see my screen now?
Yep.
Okay, fantastic. We are here this evening to present an application for a 3-year time extension to an existing combined lot development covenant, which affects the property you're looking at on the screen now, which is on the south side of I Street between 6th and 7th Street. Oops. The project has come before you all many times, so this may look familiar. This is a residential building with ground floor retail. It has community uses in the historic buildings fronting on the alley. It includes extensive historic preservation of contributing buildings, and it has been through a variety of entitlement processes, all of which have come before this ANC, and the ANC has consistently been supportive of the project. The CLD covenant that I mentioned, the combined lot development covenant that we are seeking to extend, was established to transfer approximately 28,000 square feet of required residential density from lot 59 here in pink to what were lots 815 and 816 in orange, which are now part of a much larger lot, which has since been subdivided and will become that residential development site shown here. So the lots were about here. Oops. So the density was transferred. Lot 59 in pink is the Modus Hotel that has been operational for a few years now. It was the Pod Hotel.
Oh, gotcha.
Under normal circumstances, the hotel site would have had a residential requirement, but this combined lot development covenant transferred that residential requirement from the hotel site to the residential site. The CLD covenant requires one of two things. One, that a certificate of occupancy is issued for the residential use before the non-residential use, which in this case did not occur since the hotel is operational and the residential development has not been constructed yet, or the funding of an escrow account to permit the non-residential certificate of occupancy to be issued first. So that's what happened. In that case, the establishment of the escrow account requires certification from the project architect of 50% completion of construction of the residential project within 5 years. As you all may recall, the CLD covenant was previously extended once, that was in 2019, such that the architect's certification that the project is 50% complete is now due no later than February 2023. What we're requesting from you tonight is a second 3-year extension such that the certification that 50% completion has been done would be due no later than February 2026. The zoning regulations specifically allow for this extension to be requested, and the legal standard is that the applicant show that it has proceeded with due diligence and in good faith in constructing the required residential uses. Since the extension, the applicant, we believe, has proceeded with due diligence and in good faith, but about 3 to 4 months after the extension was approved in 2019, that's when COVID hit, which created obviously unprecedented market conditions and derailed the applicant's efforts in moving forward. And at this point, I want to turn it over to Lewis Kelly from Monument to quickly describe the difficulties they've had in moving forward, but what they've been doing to nonetheless move this project forward, because we're all very excited to redevelop that site.
Thanks, Jessica. Yeah, so as Jessica was saying, 3 to 4 months after we had received the first extension, that's when COVID-19 pandemic came about. At that point, as we all likely remember, employers began sending their employees home to work remote. Business travel was halted. Retail and restaurants were shut down, and people began leaving cities, causing the vacancies to soar. So it created an environment that it was difficult to finance development, especially residential in such a core downtown location. But despite these challenges, continued searching for a construction lender. And in 2021, things slowly began to return to normal. People began moving back down into cities, and we were able to find a construction lender towards the end of 2021, signing a term sheet with them in December of 2021. And at that point, we were progressing rapidly to break ground on the project by the end of this year. But unfortunately, we're hit with another hurdle, the inflation, again, that we're all aware of the situation that's going on, and the interest rate hikes that followed have essentially wreaked havoc on the capital markets, again making it difficult to finance a project. With the interest rate hikes, lenders have been hesitant to put money out, and the terms at which they do put money out have changed dramatically. And we expect that to continue for a little while longer, until there's a little bit more clarity on what's happening with inflation, and when these interest rate hikes will begin to slow down and stop altogether. But as a result of the interest rate hikes, the lender that we had on board ultimately pulled out, which is uncommon when you have a executed term sheet. But unfortunately, that was the case. And we've been scrambling over the past couple of months to find a replacement lender. Based on the conversations that we've had, we expect things to open up again early next year. If you want to go to the next slide, can walk us through what we have been working on. So despite the issues with finding a construction lender, we're still moving things forward. Trying to position ourselves so that we can break ground on this project as soon as we have that replacement lender on board. So we've filed raise permit applications. We've filed and processed and recorded a subdivision for the I Street properties. We've finalized construction drawings so that they're in position for us to file our building permit application, and then we've also completed the residential drawings for the 8th Street project that is going to be included in the overall development as well. So despite the challenges within the capital markets, we've continued to progress things forward so that once things clear up, we can get this project kicked off quickly. And then if we want to go to the next slide, can kind of walk us through what the anticipated schedule is. So we're right now projecting that we should be able to have construction financing lined up by the summer, which would allow us to break ground on the project by the end of the next year. And then based on our construction schedule, we should reach that 50% construction completion threshold by the spring of 2025, which would be within the extension date that we're requesting. So yeah, turn it over to Jessica for any questions.
Yeah, that's our whole presentation. Recall that we did ask you for this exact same request almost exactly 3 years ago, which you did support. And so it's really the exact same request. The circumstances and our reasoning for why we need the extension are different. Obviously, COVID hadn't happened at that time and the facts have changed. But other than that, we are very much looking forward to redeveloping that site. I don't think anyone wants to see it happen more than Monument. So we're happy to take any questions, and I'll leave it there.
So was the first application was approved in 2016? Is that?
The first application, there was no application. This is not a BZA or a zoning. This is a very specific, and in fact, it hasn't happened anywhere else in the city, request for a combined lot development covenant extension. You are correct that this site was subject to BZA that was approved in around 2016, and I can get you that for sure. And it was extended a couple of times. Once COVID happened, there were a couple of automatic extensions. So BZA cases that were set to expire during COVID did get automatically extended. Applicants didn't have to request those. And then more recently, there was an extension requested and approved and supported by the ANC. So now we have, I think it's about 2 years to start construction for the project, and we do not anticipate needing another BZA extension. But you're correct that this site was subject to a BZA approval. This request we're asking for is, I don't want to say unrelated because it's the same development site, but it is legally a different request.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, I understand. I understand the concern that you all have with COVID and the markets right now, but my concern is that I have a block in my ANC that is basically vacant. It has boards over windows, graffiti on the building, and posters, like postings all over the place. I don't know if 3 more years of non-development at this site really makes sense. And I'm putting that out there. Like, this is like a horrible position that the community is being placed in for this project not progressing. And it's a residential project, which we are in need of residential buildings. And you're talking about being delayed because of construction. And now we have council members who are putting in bills to convert commercial properties to residential buildings, which is going to give you more challenge, I think, coming down the pike. So I just want to make sure that this happens and that this doesn't stay looking like we have half a boarded up block in downtown DC.
Commissioner Schenkel, we absolutely appreciate that, and thank you for bringing it up. We agree with you. I want Lewis to respond to that because we know that that's an issue, and it's important to us. It's important to the residents who live there. It's important to you as the ANC commissioner. I will point out that procedurally, if the ANC does not support this request and if the zoning commission does not approve it, it does not impact our approval to develop that BZA site. I just want to point it out. I just pulled up the order. We have until March 28th, 2024 to pull a building permit. What this would do is not extend 3 years. It would extend basically half of that, because within 3 years, we have to be 50% done construction. So it's sort of a year and a half, right? Because what we're requesting is that in February, 3 years from this coming February, we have to certify that that an architect has to certify that the project has completed 50% of construction. That doesn't mean start construction in the 3 years. It means half of the project is 50% complete construction. So it's a little bit of a misnomer to think about 3 years in terms of 3 years until we're filing a building permit. We're ready to file a building permit. We have our building permit plans complete and ready to file once we have financing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the typical thing you're thinking of that applicants ask you for to extend a BZA application.
Right. So what am I agreeing to then?
You're agreeing to extend the combined lot development covenant, which is a covenant on the land. It's not a BZA approval. That is the document that transferred, and I'll pull it up again, the residential density. So this site had to have residential density on it. This site did not. This is the site that we're developing as a residential building. The covenant transfer the density here. So, and in doing so, because we got the certificate of occupancy for the hotel first, the second option was to establish an escrow fund that we funded that said within 5 years, you have to demonstrate 50% completion of construction of the residential development site. The zoning regulations allow for an applicant to request an extension of that, which is what we did in 2019, in November 2019. We said, we have not been able to do it, and we need 3 more years to do it. Well, 3 months after that, that's when COVID hit. And so we're back for a second time saying, give us 1 more chance before this covenant expires, and that escrow account is gone. And the Monument Realty has put up a lot of money in that escrow account, and having it expire in February of this year extends the likelihood that they're ever going to be able to finance this project. So it makes developing this site harder if that covenant extension is not approved.
Got it. And what happens with the escrow money?
It gets released, and it's
released to
I believe it goes to, and I want to pull it up before I say the wrong things. So can you bear with me for a minute?
Sure,
Maybe.
No, sure.
I just don't want to say the wrong thing. Lewis, do you want to maybe talk a little bit about the status of the site and what you're all doing to try to improve it in the interim?
And I know that this is always like, I know building is in construction is very challenging, and all the hoops that people have to jump through to do this. So I'm just, and I know that zoning is not my strong suit, and I don't think Commissioner Nelson's strong suit either. So bear with us as we go through this process as well.
No, of course, and you're asking the right questions. So thank you.
Yeah, and just to echo what Jessica was saying, that nobody wants to see this project built more than Monument, and this project is our top priority in our pipeline. So we're working every day to get this thing financed so that we can break ground as quickly as possible. And the schedule that's outlined is what we're anticipating, but we hope that we can beat that schedule. So we're trying to move this as quickly as possible. It does not benefit us to delay it any further.
Yeah. And I just want to make sure that it's going to happen, and that we're not going to be in this situation come 2026 or 2020, the middle of 2025. And I'm saying we need another 3 years to move this forward, because I think that would be almost a 10-year proposition that we have these buildings that are looking in this situation.
Yeah, no, completely understand and agree.
I think also part of the our request here is part of the piece that we've been working on is the H Street development site. So do you all know what I mean when I say that? It's also being developed by Monument. It's like right here.
Yeah.
We recently did a modification to the BZA approval to convert that from an approved office building to a residential building.
Mm-hmm.
And so and Lewis will be able to talk about this better than I will, but by making that residential and combining it, because it's connected to the I Street development site, they will both be able to be developed at the same time together. And so the goal here is not just doing it piecemeal. We have now subdivided that I Street site. So we have one big record lot, which you need to file a building permit. So that we got that last month. We have completed the building permit application plan, so they really are ready to file. We had a signed term sheet this summer, which the lender backed out of in August because of the crazy market. So we're not, making things up here. It's really an extremely difficult lending market, and it's just financing that Monument is waiting on right now in order to move forward with this project. And again, I know I said it once, I want to reiterate it. It's not 3 years to get going. It's 3 years until we have to prove that we're halfway done.
Right. And what happens in 3 years if you don't?
That's not how the ESCO account is written, but actually maybe it is. If in 3 years we don't, we cannot certify that 50% has been complete. We either have to ask for another extension, which sounds like we wouldn't get if we're talking about having this much of a conversation for the second extension. The funds would be released. And I pulled it up. The funds get released to the DC Housing Trust Fund.
Good. Okay. Commissioner Nelson?
Yeah, so my concerns are sort of along the same line as Michael's. I believe you said that right now you're looking for a lender because your lender backed out. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, so in order to have it 50%, in order to have the project 50% completed in 3 years, by what date would you need to have a lender in place?
Well, I guess the outside date would be the end of next year, but based on the schedule that we have pulled up here, if we find the replacement lender and we have a loan agreement in place in the summer of 2023, we can then start construction shortly thereafter, which would allow us to reach 50% completion in the spring of 2025. So, I mean, you're looking at about a 2-year period between starting or having the lender on board and when we would reach that 50% threshold. So if the extension date is moved till 2026 or February 19th of 2026, then 2 years before that is essentially when we would need to start construction in order to meet that deadline. But as we've mentioned, we are looking to reach that 50% threshold much sooner than that date.
Of course. But basically you have to have the lender in place between summer and the end of December for 2023. Is that right?
Well, we would need it. Yeah, we would need it. The latest we would need it, I would say, is February of 2024 in order to meet the 50% threshold.
Okay, and if you don't have a lender by February, by what date? Like, if you don't have a lender, is it by like February 2024? Then what happens, or is your I guess process of finding a lender, like if you don't have it by, I don't know, October 31st or by the end of the fiscal year of next year, right? So like at what point do you say we're not going to have this in time, or do you just go all the way up until February and then see what happens after that?
Yeah, I mean, at some point we'd have to decide if we, I think, once we reach that point, we would look to extend again, but I don't anticipate us getting to that point.
So do you have, not to, not to reveal trade secrets or anything, but do you have someone lined up? I mean, is this a process that's already happening, or is it still something that you have to actually work out?
No, this is something that's actively happening. I mean, we're talking to a handful of groups, and we also have third-party brokerage groups that are working to help find us financing as well. So it's really just a matter of piecing it together. I mean, I will say from a lot of the conversations that we've heard with lenders, they're racing to get things done by the end of this year that can close by the end of this year, which means that they don't have necessarily the time to work on things that would close early next year. So I think the conversations that we have will progress more rapidly once they've kind of worked through the deals that they're looking to close this year. So we have groups that are interested. It's really just a matter of them giving our project the right attention, which we anticipate being next year. Once they've again worked through the projects that they're trying to close this year, and two, I think that the capital markets are going to slowly open up again as inflation continues to come down. We just saw CPI numbers released, I believe, a week ago that came in less than what was projected, and which was a positive sign. So as we see interest rate hikes begin to curtail and not be the 75 basis points that they have been over the course of the past year, lenders begin to be more comfortable because they have a better sense of what the future holds. So next year, I think there's going to be a lot more clarity on that side, which will allow us to get this finalized. I mean, based on our conversations that we've had with lenders, they understand how incredible this location is. I mean, you can't get much more poor of a location in DC than this. I mean, you're a block and a half away from Capital One Arena. You can't build inside of this location, and the financing market understands that. It's just a matter of lining up those dollars with this project at the right time, which we anticipate being next year.
Right. So this, correct me if I'm wrong, but this extension request that you brought before us tonight, it really doesn't have anything to do with your lender search. Is that right?
It doesn't have anything to do with the lender search. The reason that this is helpful is because that money is a part of the deal structure. So having that money, once we reach 50% completion, it works into how we're trying to finance the deal, and ultimately makes it easier to finance, knowing that we have that money there at that point.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
The money in the escrow. Is
That's
that
correct.
the money in the escrow? Got it. Okay. Got it. I have very, very mixed emotions on this because of the fact that this site is sitting dormant. I understand the financing perspective of this and the challenges that you've had with COVID, but I can't imagine this site sitting dormant for 3 more years without development.
So, Michael.
Yeah.
One of the things I share your concern, definitely. So I'm wondering if maybe, Jessica said that this particular extension is not necessarily critical to their overall operation. It sounds like it's a nice to have, and at some point it might become more critical. But since the lender search really doesn't have anything to do with this particular extension request, is it possible that we could say that we could support this once they have a lender in place, and then that way we'd know that the project has more potential of actually being completed?
Well, I think that this expires in
February.
They have until February.
Yeah, it does. But if this extension isn't necessarily contingent on anything, then it expires, but it could be, how much harder is it for them to get a new one, I guess is what I'm saying, if it expires before they get a lender?
There is not a new one. This is, again, this is not like what we normally see a BZA approval. This is a covenant that is being extended, and the legal standard is different from a BZA extension. It is that we have proceeded with due diligence and in good faith. And I believe we've explained this evening that we have done that, and that due to COVID and the unpredictable market conditions, we have been unable to move forward with getting a lender because of everything that we just described, and therefore we have been unable to demonstrate 50% completion of construction. But for all the reasons that Lewis explained, we have been working in good faith to move forward. So that's the legal standard that this application will be evaluated under by the BZA. We haven't filed the application yet. We were planning on doing that tomorrow after we met with you, because we wanted to have this conversation before we filed the application. Our written materials provide much more detailed information than we are able to explain in a
of course
slide PowerPoint. And so I would feel a little bit, if you're inclined to vote in opposition to this application tonight, I would respectfully ask that you delay that vote for a month so that we can file the application. This request is minor enough that the Zoning Commission doesn't even require a hearing on it. It reviews all of the written materials, and it, as it always does, gives great weight to the ANC and the Office of Planning. And so what our hope had been, in order to rely on this application being approved, would have been that the Zoning Commission takes it up on December 15th for a vote. Again, we don't expire until February. So if you're going to vote in opposition tonight, we would request that you wait and you read the materials that we're going to file tomorrow and send to you, and vote at your December meeting. Now, I don't know off the top of my head when that is, and if it happens before December 15th or not. It might not. So I just want to point that out again. And I want to just say one more time in support of our application that for the reasons we've described, we do believe we meet the legal standard, which the Zoning Commission is going to be reviewing. And also, it's not a 3-year extension of development of this site, which is what you normally see. It's a 3-year extension to prove that we have already constructed 50% of the project.
Yes, and I get that, but didn't that happen in 2019?
Right before COVID.
And there was time before 2019 in which this covenant was in place. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes, it was extended for the first time in 2019.
Got it. So that's my concern, that we're kicking this can and keep kicking the can and keep kicking the can.
I totally understand where you're coming from. I guess one thing that's worth pointing out is the H Street component of the development project. So the H Street side was originally going to be office, and just the way, because of the size of these lots, we really needed to build the I Street and the H Street at the same time. We couldn't do one without the other, and even at that point before the pandemic, the office market, it was hard to build office, and so it was hard to get the financing for the office component, which delayed us being able to start on the residential piece. We ultimately decided to switch the H Street building from office to residential, and we pivoted those plans. So that is part of what led to the delay in getting this off the ground prior to that first extension as well. So I understand your concerns, but don't want you to think that we're just sitting on our hands.
So the H Street came along after this I Street property, right?
The assemblage was taking place over a 10-year period at the same time, but the original plans were for the H Street building to be office, and then we have since switched those plans and received approval to do that building as a residential building. So that'll be another call it 75 units on H Street, in addition to the 150 that we will be building on I Street.
Got it.
And again, not supporting this. This does not stop our timeline, right? So Commissioner Nelson, you were asking Lewis about, well, what happens if? At what point do you just throw up your hands? I don't think that's not. It's not like we get to February and we throw up our hands and we say, forget it, we're going to do a new BZA. They continue to move forward with this project, which the ANC supported an extension of within the year, in early, I think in March of this year, for the very same reasons. So procedurally and legally, the standard is a standard that we meet, and that the ANC supported when you approved the BZA, the substantive BZA application in March. So, again, I don't need to repeat what we said. You get it. You understand what we're saying.
I get it. I just want you to be very clear in hearing us that we understand that there is this delay because of COVID, whatnot, lenders, markets, etc. This has been going on now for quite a long time. And we need to either figure out how to move forward so these buildings don't sit here boarded up and covered in graffiti, or Monument sells the property and lets someone else do it. I'll just put that out there, because I don't want these buildings sitting vacant in downtown, boarded up. It doesn't look good for downtown DC. That's my concern. So,
And
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. I would just add to what Michael said that, I understand your point about the procedural and legal aspect of it, which is, where you all are coming from. And I mean, that makes perfect sense. I get it. But, this is a community that we live in. And so seeing that building for the past 3 years look the way that it does, our focus is more on the community than what the procedural or legal aspects of this are. So I did just want to point that out, that we do understand that, but we also have, our concerns with the actual community.
Are any of these units going to be low income units or affordable housing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know a percentage yet?
It's 5% of the building, and that, so the zoning here, we're not required to provide IZ, but that was part of the approval process for the project. We offered to provide affordable units, so 5% of the residential, which works out to 9 units.
Commissioner-elect, I think you're on mute.
I have kids in the background, so I have to mute myself. Hey, Jessica and Louis, question. Just to address Michael and Gigi's concerns, are there any interim uses that you could put these buildings to, like maybe artists or anyone else that could use these buildings and while you wait, who are okay with, like, short-term leases? Just trying to figure out whether there's something that you can do to keep the street and these buildings activated and active use while you wait for a lender to come forward.
Yeah, completely understand your concern there. I mean, unfortunately, the cost that would be required in order to activate those for another use, whether it's office or retail, would be significant, and it just, it wouldn't necessarily make financial sense in order to do that, especially on a short-term basis, with us looking to ideally break ground within the next 3 to 4 months. But we also hear your concerns on the way that the property looks, and we've stepped up our efforts to have the properties cleaned outside more regularly. We have some coming by every 2 weeks, and I, as well as some other employees, walk by there frequently to make sure that there's nothing that needs to be cleaned up so that we can get people over there. But if you have further issues, happy to provide my email, so you can reach out and we can address those concerns.
Right.
I think that's a good idea, particularly since those have been raised as concerns. Maybe we leave a phone number or an email address from someone at Monument that the community can contact. I also want to point out that we've recently received or we've recently filed and are processing the raise permit application. So these buildings are going to be coming down very soon. So development really is imminent. And I love the idea for repurposing something for a temporary use. I think that's a great idea, but there's not enough time to even have a temporary use here, because we really believe that this project is going to get rolling very quickly, just not 50% complete by February, which at this point would be impossible.
And the buildings will be raised before financing is in place?
I don't know.
The buildings will not be raised before financing is in place. We have those permits going. So it's basically, in terms of the schedule, we want to have those permits ready to go, so that once we have the lender on board, we can pull those permits in and begin that process immediately. Simultaneously, we will be then, submitting the actual building permits, which will take several months to receive. So basically, the end of raising the buildings on site will line up with when we would be able to go, we'll dig down for our SOE and then build up for the building permit. So timing wise, we wanted to get the raise permits going now, even without the construction lender, so that as soon as we have them on board, we can hit the ground running. So I mean, without the lender in place, we're actively doing things on our end so that once we get to that point, it's go time. We're ready to go. We don't want to have things hanging in the balance that we need to tie up loose ends. Once the lender's on board, we want to be able to get going immediately. And so having those raise permits in place was one of those things that we wanted to make sure that we're in position to have.
Got it. Commissioner Nelson, I would like to read the rest of the package once the application is filed, to really see the other pieces of information that is happening with this site before we make a decision. Our next meeting is on December 13th, which would give us 2 days to turn around any letter that we would submit in support of or opposition to the site. And I think I want to really understand the whole situation.
Agreed.
So I'd like to move that we table this matter until our December 13th meeting. And if Jessica, if you could send over the packet once it's filed, so that we can see that and read through it, and maybe we can converse via email a little more on some of the details of that packet.
We'd be happy to do that, and appreciate your thoughtful comments. We really listen and take it to heart. So really appreciate the conversation. We will, when we file, we'll send you a copy via email. And if you'd like a hard copy, we can do that as well.
My email is fine. Fine with me. Anyway, Commissioner Nelson, I don't want to speak for you.
Yes, absolutely. And I do second your motion.
Thank you. And all those in favor, I guess we have to vote. So voting to table the motion, table the matter until our December 13th meeting. Okay. Thank you so much. I'm sorry we couldn't come to resolution tonight, but I think reading through that might be able to help us in the future. Okay. Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Thanks.
Are there any other matters that we need to bring up this evening?
So, Michael, I did have a chance to look at the minutes. September looks fine, but October, I would like for minute services if they could change number 6. My pronouns are she and her, so that would be great. So with those,
I had that on my list already.
So with those changes, we could go ahead and approve the September and October minutes.
Agreed.
What were your pronouns? The Gigi and
that. So yeah. So now, do you know how quickly they can turn that around? Because I need the October to be able to submit the FY, the fourth quarter financial report. I need those minutes.
We will, we can type those right in there, that document, and get it out.
Okay, because I thought it was a PDF, but if they've got it in Word.
No, I think it's a Word document.
Oh, is it? Okay, maybe I just assumed it was PDF.
Yeah, it opens weird in this
in Google?
In this thing, yes.
Oh.
But it is a Word document.
Okay, well, if it's a Word document, I can make the changes myself if that's okay.
It's perfectly fine with me. That's great.
Okay. Having just said that, let me double check that it is, because I don't want to. Okay, yeah, it is. All right, great. So I can do that, and then I'll go ahead and get that the fourth quarter financial report in to Don and the QFR people. Or do we need to officially approve the minutes? Or
yes.
Is that okay? So I move that we approve the September and October minutes with the modifications requested.
And I will second that.
All in
All those in
favor?
favor? Two voting in favor.
All right,
Terrific.
awesome.
We got it done.
Yes.
Awesome. If
I
there's
guess
no
my
other-
only other question for you, Michael, is do you know what their normal turnaround time is? Because this was kind of cutting it pretty close to the wire.
It's 5 days. So once I figured out that it wasn't going to happen through our other avenues, I switched it over to them.
Right.
And I did tell them that I was out of town until the 10th.
Right. Okay, fair enough. Fair
They
enough.
got it back to me on the 10th. So I apologize. I'm a little late there for you.
Just okay. All right. I think that's everything that we do need to discuss the budget, but I don't know that I'm prepared to do that right now. But I can follow up with you in the next day or two, and we can figure out a time to meet and talk about that. Or if it might just be an email, I'm not really sure just yet.
Got it. That sounds awesome. And no, Thomas, she has not.
I'm sorry, did I miss something?
No, he's put something in the chat. Oh, I'm sorry. It's a direct message to me. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. No.
No worries.
That's great. If there's no other business, I'd like to move that we adjourn our meeting.
Second.
So we have a hand up. Teresa.
Oh, there is a hand up. Okay. Teresa?
Yes, thank you so much. And forgive me for just kind of sliding in at the very, very last minute.
No, that's fine.
I didn't see where, and forgive me also. Oh, there's my video. Finally, I've been trying to make it work and it wasn't working on my end. So thank you and good evening, Chairman Schenkel and everyone. For those of you I've not met, I'm Teresa Dubois, the Director of Community Engagement at Events DC. We operate several venues across the district, and in this neighborhood, we have the Walter E. Washington Convention Center and the historic Carnegie Library at Mount Vernon Square. This evening, though, I'm happy to announce that the 23rd Annual Safeway Feast of Sharing for district residents will be held at the Convention Center next Wednesday, November 23rd from 10 o'clock a.m. until 1 p.m. Seniors are being admitted from 10 until 11, and general attendees will be allowed into the building from 11 a.m. until 1 p.m. This year, out of an abundance of caution, the Feast of Sharing will be grab and go for 5,000 rather than the usual sit-down luncheon for 5,000 guests. All attendees will receive a holiday boxed lunch and a gift bag with a winter hat, scarf, gloves, socks, along with a mask and hand sanitizer and a toiletry kit. So we're asking that you please share this information with your constituents, including seniors and veterans. And also as part of the event, there will be flu shots and COVID-19 vaccinations available. So again, the Feast of Sharing will be held the day before Thanksgiving on next Wednesday, the 23rd. If anyone's interested in digital flyers in English and Spanish, or up to 50 copies of printed flyers, you may contact me at tdubois@eventsdc.com, and I'll drop my information in the chat. Also, the Convention Center will host the U.S. African Leaders Summit next month, December 13th through 15th. This will be a national security special event with extensive security protocols. For those of you that have lived in the area for over 6 or 7 years, just think Nuclear Security Summit, which was held in March of 2016. So an invitation-only initial overview will be convened with U.S. Secret Service at the Convention Center on November 29th. And that's where we can learn about temporary impacts to the surrounding area, many that will occur beginning in early December and last until a few days after the summit ends. So commissioners, please watch for an email from me via MailChimp containing a letter that includes a link where you may register to participate in this briefing. If you have constituents, civic group leaders, business owners, or other stakeholders within a 2 to 3 block radius of the convention center, please forward my email to them so that they may sign up to attend the briefing on the 29th. I'll put my contact info in the chat, and I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you so much for coming and making these very important announcements. We often don't hear them, so we really appreciate you being here. When is the event that the summit?
The U.S. African Leaders Summit is December 13th through 15th.
13th through 15th. Gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. I just wanted to kind of get the dates there too. Okay.
Sure.
Perfect. Awesome.
Perfect.
Well, we appreciate that. I have no other questions other than that. I'm very excited that you're here and that you are providing that update.
Absolutely. I guess we'll see each other more often with
yes, exactly.
Commission.
Yes. And Commissioner Nelson, do you have other?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you so much. Is it Teresa? Is that how you pronounced it?
Teresa,
okay. Well, thank you so much for coming in. And like Michael said, we're kind of just giddy because this rarely happens. We get advance notice of things, so we do appreciate it. Thank you, and very nice to meet you.
Well, likewise, Commissioner. I'm happy to be here, and for once, I'm talking about something other than our fabulous community grant program. But you'll hear about that in December.
Fabulous! That sounds awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Howard, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner, and thanks for the very passionate statement that you delivered earlier regarding the problems we're facing here in Chinatown. And I think you rightfully pointed out in terms of the restaurant Tiki, whatever, the one that they were licensed in which they wanted to put a new restaurant up on F Street, the South African chicken restaurant, whatever. And in fact, they're closing on 7th Street between H and I on the east side of 7th. It's very significant because it's exactly where the drug dealers hang out, in front of their restaurant. And it's, I think, part of the situation which is totally out of control in our neighborhood. I plan to testify on November the 22nd before the committee dealing with economic development in Chinatown, and I'm going to certainly cite that as yet another example of the consequences of the anarchy that we face here daily. And thank you for continuing the pressure. It's so important to us, Michael. It really is. So some good news and then maybe some not so good news. First, the good news is today I went out and was on the first train.
Yay.
That left Metro Center at 2:21 p.m. Silver Line train. That was the first revenue service to Ashburn via Dulles International Airport. The running time between Metro Center and Dulles is about 51 minutes. The cost is $6. Compare that with costs on Uber, Lyft, or taxis of north of $50. Plus, even though it was raining today, there was no delays. Looked out and saw the Beltway was like totally in gridlock, the Dulles Access Road. This is going to be an amazing infusion of economic life into our neighborhood because Metro Center will be the downtown destination of choice. It's going to be a game changer. And Mayor Bowser was there. She talked about the fact it will make jobs accessible for people who live here in the district at Dulles, well-paying jobs, and also international travelers who spend a lot of money, much more than domestic travelers, will make their way on this new line downtown. Especially, and also it will spawn new airlines coming in, providing low fare service from Europe, because Europeans unlike Americans, have no aversion to taking public transportation.
Yep.
Our first choice is the automobile. In Europe, the first choice is public transportation. So that's the good news. Also, some good news, the downtown bid tomorrow is having a workshop on pedestrian safety at 6:30 p.m. They're dealing with safety and security on the sidewalks. If you haven't signed up for that, just go on the downtown bid website. I plan to submit a written statement because I have a conflict. And I think we may need some help from the ANC. The city, once again, has delivered a blow to Chinatown Penn Quarter. It released its final rule on e-scooters. Now they're going to permit upwards of 10,000. Yeah, you heard me right. 10,000 e-scooters in the district. 10,000. Mostly will be ridden on sidewalks. And guess where those sidewalks are? Chinatown Penn Quarter. Yes. Totally thoughtless. Totally no mention of safety at all of the people who've been injured on these e-scooters, pedestrians walking on the sidewalk, users. They've made some reforms, and I have to give them credit. But again, as usual, no enforcement mechanism. Zero enforcement mechanism. So I don't want to go on. It's the end of the meeting. Many of you have not had dinner. But thank you again. I just wanted to make those points, and go Silverline.
Go Silverline. That's great. That is totally awesome. I appreciate you giving the report on the Silverline for sure. And just while I was in Portugal recently, they have the same scooters that we have here, Bird and Spin and Lime. And I felt like I was in the district for a little bit. However, they were all corralled in corral spaces off the sidewalk, which was really kind of neat to see. And I saw no one riding them on sidewalks, but it was something definitely to experience for sure. But thank you for that, Howard.
Thank you, Michael.
Thomas, did you have something?
Yeah, one last point. A neighbor of mine, Gigi may know him, Adam, wrote to me and asked whether, with a comment that he said there were these planters on the street. There were these planters, large plastic planters on the intersections that were kind of like more forward onto the crosswalks, but now they've kind of been pushed back almost to the curb where they no longer serve any purpose. Before they were used as like a traffic calming measure and to promote, as Howard Marks was, conveying like pedestrian safety. Do we have any updates on that? Because he asked for them to be returned back to their previous location, which was like closer, to the streets to provide, some pedestrian safety. And if we create that space, those areas could be areas where scooters could be placed, so they're not blocking sidewalks. So.
Yeah. Great points and great questions. We did submit to DDOT. I believe this might have even been prior to Gigi joining the ANC, locations within to see where we could do scooter corralling, and that was then, to my understanding, transferred to the bid to do from DDOT to the bid. I have been opposed to these plastic planter things since they have been placed on the sidewalks or on the streets, because they were supposed to be in those pedestrian bump out areas initially, to give some cover to pedestrians and make turns wider for cars. They have been moved. They've been moved all over the place. There was one that was at 9th and F Street, which was never located there. I don't know how it got there. That has been removed by the bid. But we definitely can send another letter asking them to return them to the locations or to make them into corrals for scooters. Yeah, great points. Great points. Awesome. With that, I'm going to move that we adjourn our meeting.
Second.
Awesome. Thank you all. We will see you on December 13th.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.